In this video, I'm going to take you through some of the most popular packaged food items in India in the order from worst to best. If you are interested, keep watching. We say that packaged food items are processed and they should be avoided. What exactly is food processing? Food processing involves an alteration or change in the food that is being prepared. Processing might include something like drying, cutting, roasting, or freezing food. Processing is not necessarily harmful, and processed food products are not necessarily unhealthy. In fact, food processing is required to make it more suitable for consumption. For example, milk is processed by pasteurization to make it more suitable for consumption. Preparation of rolled oats requires the processes of dehusking and steaming the oats. Preparation of edible oils requires pressing and processing of the seeds. All these processes are required to make these foods edible for consumption. So then, if processing is a good thing, what makes processed foods unhealthy? The health quotient of a processed food is heavily dependent on the ingredients that have been added to it. The main culprits among ingredients are salt, sugar, fat, and additives. Sugar in processed foods comes under various names like high fructose corn syrup, beet syrup, molasses, invert syrup, cane sugar, maltose, dextrose, glucose. All these are just different names for sugar. Additives in processed foods might include emulsifiers, thickeners, colors, preservatives, and artificial sweeteners. As a rule of thumb, the more of these ingredients, that is sugar, salt, fat, and additives, you see on the label, the more processed and unhealthier the food becomes. Now, keeping this in mind, I have grouped some of the most popular packaged food items in India into three main categories. Category 1, foods that you must avoid. These include ultra or heavily processed foods. Category 2, foods that you can have in limit. These include processed foods. And category 3, foods that are safe to have. These include minimally processed foods. Just wanted to make a note here that I wouldn't be naming any brands in this video, and this video is not about brand shaming. I just want to equip you with enough facts so that you can make your own choices. Let's start looking at foods that belong to the avoid category. These include ultra or heavily processed foods that contain a lot of ingredients. The first food item in this category are packaged biscuits. Biscuits have a really long list of ingredients including sugar, oil, additives like raising agents, and emulsifiers. Even seemingly healthy biscuits like this high fiber biscuit has all these ingredients. So here's my take. If you're eating biscuits because of the fiber in it, you're much better off eating a roti or a paratha. In the YouTube poll that I did, biscuits came up as the most popularly consumed packaged food item, but it is definitely one thing that must be avoided. The second food item in this category are industrial breads. Even if breads have a substantial amount of wheat flour or atta in it, they are still heavily processed, as evident from the long list of ingredients. This is true for any kind of bread, be it white bread, brown bread, or atta bread. Again, if you're eating a bread because it has fiber or atta in it, you're much better off eating a roti or a paratha. The third packaged food item that I've included in this category are fruit juices. Let's talk about fruit juices for a minute, since a lot of us believe that these are healthy. If you look at the label on fruit juices, you will find this ingredient called fruit concentrates. Now, fruit concentrates are prepared by pulping the fruit, after which the pulp is reduced and sugar in the form of high fructose corn syrup is added to the pulp. Flavor packs are also added to maintain a uniformity of flavor in the concentrates. So fruit juice concentrate might look like a harmless ingredient on the label, but it is actually an ultra processed ingredient which ultimately makes the fruit juice an ultra processed food item. So I would highly recommend you to ditch the fruit juice and have a real fruit instead. Another reason to ditch the fruit juices is the lack of fiber in them. Due to absence of fiber, the sugar in fruit juices instantly spikes our blood sugar and blood insulin levels. In short, there is nothing nourishing about fruit juices, and you are much better off eating real fruits instead. Other foods that I've included in the list are packaged cakes. Again, a really long list of bad ingredients like hydrogenated vegetable oil, maltose syrup, invert syrup, which are basically names of sugar. Then there are ketchups, sauces, and pizza spreads, and what you might not realize is that sugar is a really predominant ingredient in these ketchups and spreads, so definitely avoid these. Then there are chips, and these came up as the second most consumed packaged food item in my poll. Although it might not look like a whole lot of ingredients, but chips are very high in their sodium, sugar and fat content. I would also add instant noodles or Hakka noodles and even chocolates to the avoid foods category. If you think of any other food products that should be included in this category, do let me know in the comments. Let's move on to the next category of processed foods that you can have in limit. These are slightly better than the previously mentioned ultra processed foods. This includes something like bakery breads that are made using minimal ingredients like wheat flour, water, salt and yeast. It is much better to consume white bread or even pav bread that don't use many ingredients rather than consuming the industrial breads that have a ton of ingredients in them. While industrial breads fall in the category of ultra-processed foods, the freshly baked bakery breads would fall in the category of processed foods because of fewer ingredients used. Same goes with biscuits. If you can find biscuits that have minimum ingredients in them, you can have them in limit. Packaged roasted nuts typically do not have many ingredients in them and you can have them sometimes. However, these are high in their sodium content, and if you are watching your sodium intake, watch out how much of it do you eat. Also, nuts that are plain roasted are better than ones that are fried in oil or have oil in the ingredient list. Another food item that I would add to this category are peanut butters. Now, usually most peanut butters would not and should not have more than 4 ingredients in them. In fact, you'll find some brands where the only ingredient used are roasted peanuts. Another category of foods that I've added here are ready to cook mixes like upma mix or poha mix. Now these also have a long list of ingredients like acidity regulators and flavoring substances, but the main ingredient, for example, in this poha mix is rice flakes. It has 75% rice flakes, which is not too bad. So it is okay to have this once in a while. Of course, this can't replace the home cooked poha in terms of health. Moving on to the third category of minimally processed foods that are safe to have. One such food item is the unflavored or plain yogurt or dahi, which is made using minimal ingredients like milk and lactic acid cultures. So plain dahi or yogurt would fall in the category of minimally processed foods that are safe to have. But the making of a flavored yogurt or fruit yogurt involves the addition of sugar, thickeners, flavors, etc. and therefore flavored yogurt would fall in the category of ultra processed foods. Coming to breakfast products, things like rolled oats or cornflakes are minimally processed and they are safe to have. But the making of breakfast cereals involves the addition of sugar, flavors, coloring substances, and therefore these are ultra processed foods that should be avoided. Wheat products like vermicelli, suji or wheat pasta are minimally processed and they are safe to have. Rice products like flattened rice or poha and puffed rice are also minimally processed. Frozen fruits and vegetables, frozen fish or canned foods are also minimally processed and safe to have. I wanted to share some food for thought before ending this video. As per data, the consumption of salty snacks like chips and bhujiyas and sweet snacks like chocolates, spreads, jams, cakes has increased in India in the past 2 decades. Alongside, the cases of obesity, lifestyle disorders, hormonal imbalances, gut-related problems have also gone up, suggesting a link between the consumption of processed food items and lifestyle disorders. The only way to deal with this problem is to cook and eat more real and home-cooked meals and avoid packaged food items as much as possible. Here's an activity for you. Take a pen and paper and enlist the number of packaged food items in your house and write down how many of these items do you consume every day. See if you can make some changes anywhere. For example, if you are used to eating a biscuit with your tea every day, replace it with some roasted nuts or some chana. If you are used to consuming packaged juices, replace it with something like coconut water. On that note, I'll end the video. I really hope you'll give some thought to the points mentioned in today's video and move towards a more packaged food free life in future. If you liked today's video, do hit the like button and leave me a comment. It always means a lot. I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care until then. Bye.